Very good evening, friends. Hope so. I am audible. Yeah. Very good evening, friends. So today we'll be discussing about the geography mains answer writing. Already, say for example, few days earlier we had this class, and as a continuation, today will be same. I'll be adding some of the questions, and we'll be taking it for the discussion. And of course, the live comment session is also there. If you want to add some, say for example, facts dimension to the answer writing, always you can do that, because we always believe that mains answer writing, there is no one way of writing the answer, correct? So somewhere I understand there are n number of ways how exactly I can write a structure my answer, and of course even the best of the answers may leave some of the essential facts. Okay, always it is more like open-ended one. Okay. Now, having said this, my dear friends, excuse me. Yeah, kindly excuse me for a minute. Okay, right. Fine, my dear friends, right. So before we start, so let me also um, bring this piece of information that 8th of June, that is yesterday already, a batch has been started, right? And you can make use of the opportunity, right? If you feel like so, right? And there is also 1 year complete dedicated batch for the students using this Unacademy platform. Complete 1 year dedicate means exceptionally devoted 1 year batch is also there for general studies, right? Just bringing the same for your piece of information, right? Now, having said this, getting into the subject as such, my dear friends. Now, today I have just taken somewhere around the 6 questions, and we'll be discussing about the same in detail. As I said, see, there is no one way of writing the answers. Always you can add more values and more dimension. But I always prefer that if you go to the examination with a preconceived template, somewhere around, say, for example, entire mains examination, if you ask me, if you can develop somewhere around a 10 to 20 template, if you ask me what exactly is a template, I would say template is nothing but what the structure of an answer. Okay, see, content nobody knows. Unless and until, say, for example, right, you take the case of the question, you take the question per se, right? Only if I have the question in front of me, I know what exactly is the fact. But there are, say, for example, somewhere I understand repeated type of a questions will come from. For example, if at all, if the question comes in a way of compare, contrast, analyze, right? Critically analyze, justify, evaluate. Already I can have a preconceived template for the same. Normally, what we say, for example, see, in a structured way, somewhere around 10 to 20 templates you can always prepare. If you remember, even last class, I have just given you one template called as a WH template, right? WH template, where exactly all aspects or most of the aspects of the question or any topic somewhere, right, we can touch upon. Okay, now over a period of time, my dear friends, if you practice more number of questions, if you practice more questions, particularly for mains examination, you yourself, without, say, for example, knowing that you have a template, you will be somewhere, right, having a template of your. Okay, that's the reason normally we say for mains examination, answer writing practice is very, very important. Okay, now having said this, my dear friends, today I have taken somewhere around 6 questions in total, right? One by one, we'll just discuss. Only thing is that every question what I have just taken, uh, it will be having a relevance with the syllabus part, right? The very first class, right? That's the last class when we met, my dear friends. I have just given you what is the syllabus for your mains examination geography, right? Geography mains examination, which is part of general studies paper 1. As I already told you, right? One very broad area where anything and everything can be asked in geography, physical geography, if you ask me. This topic is called as salient features of world physical geography. See here, topic is very small, but the meaning, if you ask me, the meaning is very wide, very, very wide. Anything and everything, as I said, anything and everything can be asked. But only thing is that UPSC is justifying with a word called as salient. Right? Salient means important. Important features they are asking. Okay. Or the world's physical geography. Right? Includes landform formation, that is geomorphology. It includes atmosphere, that is climate. It includes, say, for example, ocean water property. Correct? Land, air, water, everything it includes. Anything can be asked. That's what we said. Uh, this topic is what very, very wide, but still, somewhere I have just decoded and I have just given you somewhere around 18 such topics there. Right? Most of the times, questions will be asked revolving around this 18 questions. That doesn't mean that, say, for example, they'll not ask you anything outside that. Not at all. Right? Here, the probability of asking a question is what? Very, very high. Okay. Then, when talk about other two paragraphs, the syllabus is very straightforward. Very straightforward. They are very, say, for example, they are uh, very specific when it comes to, say, for example, description of the same. For example, they say distribution of key natural resources. I told you, regard, say, for example, take this particular topic as a natural resource, right? You can call this particular topic as natural resource topic. Just for your ease of somewhere demarcating it, I said this natural resources, you can either divide them into mineral resources, then you can also divide them into energy resources. Again, mineral, I can divide them into metallic and non-metallic. Correct? And energy, I can divide them into what? Conventional and non-conventional. Or you can say renewable and non-renewable. Either way, right? I can talk about it. But let me tell you, again, they are talking about what? Distribution of key natural resources. It means ideal preparation if I can somewhere prepare for, say, for example, 3 or 4 metallic minerals, 3 or 4 non-metallic minerals, or right? Few non-renewable energy resources over. But here, given the time, renewable energy is what very, very important. At most, if you want to give more emphasis, we'll give more emphasis to renewable energy. Even some of the questions I have taken for today's discussion from renewable energy resources as such. Okay, right. Now again, when I talk about the second part of this paragraph, my dear friends, factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary, and tertiary sector industries. See, instead of decoding this, only thing is that I should take it as industrial location. So the very important agro-based industries, some of the very important manufacturing industries, some of the very important service sector industries I have to take it. That's it. Okay. Just looking for the live chat. Right, my friends. Now, having said this, and when I just talk about the last paragraph, the third paragraph of my syllabus, again, we have two parts. We can divide them into two parts. The first part, I can take it as a natural hazards part, right? Important geophysical phenomena such as earthquake, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclones, etc. This is one part. I told you even last class, I told you even how etc. The words like etc. also you can decode it. I told you, correct? And see, decoding these words like etc. is very important. Last time itself, I told you what is the logic behind taking some of the topics under this word called as etc. I said landslide, flood, urban flood, right? All this which is not given explicitly, I can include it. I also told you why exactly landslide flood is a very hot topic in your mains examination. That also I told you because given the scenario, right? Given the scenario, somewhere I understand, right? Flood and landslide because of the monsoon time. Examination will be happening in the month of September, right? So given that case, we'll be writing examination at the end of this monsoon. So whatever may happen during the months of monsoon becomes very, very important. And the last topic, my dear friends, one topic, right? What I've just left it here, but it is very, very important. Critical changes in the geographical features, including the water bodies, ice caps, flora and fauna. Okay, particularly when I talk about the changes that takes place in the surface water, residence of the groundwater table, deglaciation, glacial retreat, all this also plays a very, very important role. Okay, right. Now, having said that, directly we'll go to the question segment, my dear friends. Again, I'm re-insisting few points. Right, what are the facts that I would like to insist again and again? I'll tell you. See, this examination, last class itself, I told you, last session, I told you, average answer is more than enough. If you're going for above average answer, it is good. The problem of extraordinary answer, I'm telling you, if you are preparing for a question, if you're preparing for a particular area, if you anticipate some of the questions, exact question, verbatim, you cannot anticipate. Correct? But say, for example, relevant topic, if it is coming in, somewhere I would have prepared for the same, already means I'll be writing the same, right? That will come as an extraordinary answer. But only thing is that whether your answer is extraordinary, above average, below average, whatever it is the case, do not exceed the word limit, do not exceed the time limit. I'm telling you, my dear friends, as I already told you, general studies only 10 markers and 15 markers question I have. Already I told you, right? Nothing new about the same. When I talk about 10 marker, my dear friends, 10 marker, right? The time what is available to you, I'll tell you, right? Everything put together. It means reading the question, understanding the question, correct? Somewhere, for example, brainstorming it, putting it in structure, and finally writing the answer, everything put together. What I have is only 7 minutes, approximately. And that too, I can write it for 150 words. I'm telling you, my difference. Some of the questions, what happens, two challenges in the examination you will focus or you will face, right? One challenge, you'll be knowing lot of things, but they'll be asking only for 10 markers. For example, continental drift theory, 2013 they have asked, right? Continental drift theory. Everybody can know, means say for example, you can write 3 pages, 4 pages on continental drift theory. But unfortunately, that particular year that was asked only for 5 markers. That's a challenge. You know plenty of things. But the word limit, you have to concise and you have to write it. That is challenge number one. Challenge number two, you'll be knowing only few things. Only the definition part you will be knowing it. But they'll be asking you to write the same for 250 words. That is the second type of challenge. But of course, what is very practical is the second type of challenge. Okay. Very little I know. I have to write it in, say, for example, 150 words. Okay, whatever it is the case. Both the challenges I am just bringing in. Similarly, my friends, if I just talk about 15 markers, I understand 15 markers, right? Everything, as I said, the time available for you is only 11 minutes. Okay. And word limit, what I can write it for somewhere around 250 words. I'm telling you, this time and word limit, they have a very close correlation. Very close correlation they have. Why repeatedly I say so? For example, if I know a particular question, right, I can write for 300 words, but the question is asked as a 10 marker. Somewhere, my dear friends, I should write it in 150 words because every word what I add, I'll be taking extra time. I'll be taking extra time. Every minute I take it at a regular interval, I'll be losing my time at the end. At the end of the examination, some of the questions, known questions, you will be in a position to leave it. Okay. So you have to do one justification. What is the justification when it comes to the answer writing? 10 marker means whenever I just talk about time allotted for 7 marker, right, should be somewhere around 7 minutes. And when I talk about the word limit, it should be somewhere around 150 words. Both you have to do justice. Writing it, say, for example, 8 and 9 minutes or exceeding the words is not appreciated. Okay, because I'm telling you, this is more like a strategy. Lot of students, right, we have seen They have fantastic knowledge, but time management and word management, they miss it. Eventually, right, say for example, getting into service itself becomes what? Very, very difficult. So again, I'm telling you, right? Kindly say, for example, you have to follow, say, for example, this time and word limit very, very strictly, right? There is no second thought about it. Okay, right, my dear friends. Now, having said this, here I have not mentioned the word limit. Each and every questions what I have just taken, I have just not mentioned the word limit. Assuming that, say, for example, in examination, you'll be right. Say, for example, almost somewhere following this word limit as such. Right. Okay, my dear friends. Now, the very first question, I have just taken the clue from the ongoing cyclones. Because, see, having the cyclone in the month of June, right? Month of June is very, very rare. May will be having it, but June and that too having a cyclone along with monsoon is very rare phenomenon. And of course, the other videos what we'll be doing, say for example, there is a separate video what I'm just doing in this monsoon series. I'm just doing it there. I'll also somewhere bring it as a concept. How this, say for example, right? Biparjoy cyclone can affect, say for example, almost can affect the monsoonal wind, particularly how exactly it is going to affect the Arabian Sea branch of the Indian monsoon somewhere. Some other class will be discussing it. Okay, now whatever be the case, very recent cyclone. Cyclone, say for example, means so far landfall has not taken place. Still, say for example, the cyclone is becoming intensified in Arabian Sea, the latest cyclone. Cyclone which is alive, we call them as what? Biparjoy. Okay. And say, for example, very recently we had a cyclone formed in Bay of Bengal, had its landfall, say, for example, Myanmar. The cyclone, you call them as what? Mocha. Right? Now, what is the question? Somewhere it says the recent cyclone on the east coast of India was called as Mocha and Biparjoy. Of course, Biparjoy is not east coast of India. Biparjoy is what? Along the west coast of India. So, somewhere you can take it as the recent cyclone on the coast of India was called as Mocha and right, Biparjoy. Now the question is how and why tropical cyclones are named. See, there are two segments in this answer. Number one, I should say how cyclones are named. This is one part of my answer. And number two, I should say why cyclones are named. Correct? These are the only two segments of my answer. Right? First, I should understand how, then I should understand why. Right? Now, my dear friends, otherwise, this is just a statement. They're somewhere saying that, okay, cyclones are having a name for it. Okay. Now, see, giving an introduction, it depends on the marks. For example, if the same question is asked for 10 marker, definitely speaking, I'll not give, say, for example, the introduction as such. Even if I'm just giving an introduction, that will be hardly a one-liner, not more than that. Even a paragraph, spending one paragraph for introduction and all, is not needed. Okay. But still, I have just given an introduction here, right? I have just given what exactly is tropical cyclone. Okay. Actually speaking, it is not needed. It depends on the, say, for example, mark limit. If it is a 15 marker, I can give it. If it is a 10 marker, no problem. Okay. So somewhere I have just given, say, for example, tropical cyclone is an intense cyclonic circulation system that originates over warm tropical oceans and it is characterized by a low atmospheric pressure, high winds, heavy rain, etc. Drawing energy from the sea surface and maintaining its strength as long as it remains over the warm water. Tropical cyclone is like a heat engine that is energized by latent heat of condensation, right? This big introduction is actually not needed, but just for, see, because this session is not only an answer writing practice, right? Somewhere some of the concepts also we can add it. Okay. So it should also be what? Informative in nature. Okay. Now, as I said, say for example, if at all if it is a 15 marker, if you want to give it as a one-liner introduction, you can simply say that tropical cyclones are intense low pressure circulation systems formed over tropical marginal water body. Okay, fine. Now, coming to this cyclone Mocha, my dear friends. Mocha was actually an extremely severe cyclonic storm. That's what meteorological department has classified. Was powerful and deadly tropical cyclone in the Indian Ocean, right, which affected Myanmar and parts of Bangladesh in May 23. See here, Assuming that examiner was asking about this cyclone called as Mocha, and somewhere if I'm just bringing the approximate region and the approximate time where exactly the cyclone had its landfall, this part of my answer will add more credibility. So examiner, right, will understand that, okay, fine, I know about the student who is writing these answers knows about this Mocha, right? Otherwise, say for example, he'll be in an opinion that, say for example, he's not randomly bluffing. Okay, because both space and time we have, say for example, both the spatial component and the temporal component, both we have mentioned it. Okay, right. Now, how exactly cyclones are named? First, I'm just talking about this how, my dear friends, how part. Okay, see, going in a detailed fashion is not needed. And again, if you ask me, can I write it in, say, for example, bullet forms? Yes, of course, right? Of course. If even I'll tell you, our experience is if you take the combination of paragraph writing and bullet forms, right, that will fetch you more marks than simply writing in paragraph. Okay. See, bullet points. The thing is that if I'm just going for the bullet points, I'll be very specific to the points. Correct. Very point. For example, if I'm just writing 10 points, means at least I should be, say, for example, if every 10 point is, say, for example, it is very prominent, relevant, of course, the maximum mark should be awarded for me. Correct. So combination of bullet points along with the paragraph writing is one of the most beautiful way of presentation. Of course, it also looks neat when it comes to the paper as such. Okay, now answering this question, how cyclones are named? See, cyclones that forms in every ocean basins across the world, right, are named by regional specialized meteorological centers. And one more thing, my dear friends, whichever long names, very large names, if you're going to use it repeatedly, somewhere I can use an abbreviation or acronym within the bracket first time. Okay. Same newspaper also you read it, the same method is followed. Okay. Then when I write about regional specialized meteorological centers again, no need to write the complete name. I'll simply write it only as what? RSMCs. Okay. So it is understandable that I'm just talking about regional specialized meteorological centers. If these names are not popular, do not give their abbreviation or acronym directly. If they are popular, okay. Right? If they're very, very popular, it is okay. Otherwise, right, say for example, tell what exactly they are. Then if you're using it for the next time, you can use it as, say for example, this acronym or the abbreviation itself, you can use it. Okay? Right. All right, my dear friends. Now, having said this, cyclones, I said, right, they are named by the regional specialized meteorological centers and tropical cyclone warning centers. In total, there are 6 RSMCs in the world, including IMD. IMD is one of the RMCs in the world, right? So IMD plus other, say for example, tropical cyclone warning centers, if you take it, totally we have the 6 in total. Okay, right. So only thing is that you have to tell them that cyclones are named by this regional specialized meteorological centers where IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, is also part of it, one of it. Okay, right. Now, directly coming to this Indian Ocean, because see, all say for example, 6 different places, they have their own way of naming a cyclones. Okay, for example, if I just go for the North American basins, both say for example Atlantic basin as well as Pacific basins, America and general. Okay, they have a system where cyclones will be named in alphabetical order, common man's name, right? So the first cyclone of a year will be starting at A, alphabet A, then B, C, D, and so on, right? But only thing is that it will be having an alternate sequence of male and female name. For example, you can call it as Andrea, right? Followed by Boston, followed by Catherine, followed by Daniel, something like that. Okay, it is an alphabetical order. Okay, and only thing is that they'll be using a list of 6 names repeatedly, and all 26 alphabets they don't use it. If you start counting it, only 21 alphabets will be used. Okay, but Indian Ocean region, the practice is slightly different. Okay, now here, my dear friends, Indian Ocean region, I'll tell you what exactly is the practice. There are 13 member countries. Until recently, before COVID, the member countries were only 8, right? And all these 13 member countries, 5 member countries are added now. In detail, talking about all member countries is not needed. Okay. So 13 member countries has given 13 names each. Okay. Already they have given 13 names each, my friend. So 13 into 13. Totally, you have 169 preconceived names. You have preconceived names. Okay, right. Now here, earlier it was 8 into 8. We had only 64 names and we have exhausted. Okay. And what are the member countries? That member countries also I have just given it, my dear friends. I have given it, right? And writing all these member countries and all, it is not needed. Only thing is that you should say there are 13 member countries, right? Here it is given in alphabetical order, but only thing is that I can take it North Indian Ocean basins. So some of the countries which is having a coastline with Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea or these countries, right? I'll zoom it if you want to see it, right? Say for example, Bangladesh, India, Iran, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, UAE, and Yemen. Okay, see this is, as I said, it is given in alphabetical order. If you ask me to arrange it in, say for example, geographical order, maybe I'll start from Yemen, right? And Oman, then Oman, then say for example Saudi Arabia, and get into Persian Gulf. I'll be having this United Arab Emirates. Again, say for example, traveling along this Persian Gulf, I have countries like Qatar, then I'll be having Iran, then following Iran, I'll be having Pakistan, then India, right? Slightly descend south of India, we have, say, for example, Maldives, and just take a counterclockwise turn, we have Sri Lanka, then, say, for example, Bangladesh, then we have Myanmar, then, say, for example, finally, we have Thailand. Almost 18, 13 we have covered. In geographical order also we have covered. Okay. So, this 13 countries are given 13 names each, my dear friends. Okay. So, somewhere we have an order of names, and each and every time a cyclone, say, for example, this regional, right, center, say, for example, this tropical cyclone warning center, say, for example, they say that yes, this particular system can be called as cyclones. IMD is one of them, as I said, right? So immediately I'll be taking a name from the pre-existing names and I'll be assigning it. Okay. So accordingly, my dear friends, the last cyclone what we had is the name given by Yemen. This is called as Mocha. See, not necessarily that these cyclones should be affecting only Yemen. Yemen has contributed the name, that's all. Okay. Right. Then the next cyclone what we are having in Arabian Sea right now is Biparjoy. Then, my dear friends, if at all, if you have one more cyclone, I don't think any more cyclone is possible now, right? I think that, say, for example, the period of cyclone, at least for now, is over. The next only cyclone I'll be having only in the month of what? Somewhere around November, late October or November. Till then, I believe that cyclones may not happen. But who knows? Next day morning itself, tomorrow morning itself, there can be one cyclone. But somewhere I feel so. Because when talk about the month of cyclones, it is normally, say, for example, April to June. That too specifically they say before the arrival of monsoon. Once monsoon arrives, I don't think that cyclones will be there in what Arabian Sea as such or Bay of Bengal as such. Okay, whatever it is the case, the next cyclone will be called as what? Tej. Tej is the name that is given by what? India. Okay, you keep on following it because see this class when I planned, unfortunately we are not able to handle this class on June 6th, I believe, right? So that day, that time, this Biparjoy was not there. Biparjoy formed only recently. Okay, right. So whatever it is the case, just coming to the question as such, my difference. Now, only thing is that we have somewhere answering how the cyclones are named. Number one, we are talking about the regional specialized meteorological centers. And Indian Ocean region, we are saying that 13 member countries has given 13 names each. So totally we have 169 preconceived names. Okay. So as and when a cyclone comes, we take a name from it, we give it. That's it. The question how we have answered. Now comes the very important segment of writing. Why a tropical cyclone should be named? What is the purpose? What is the purpose, if you ask me? Right? Cyclones are named. Okay. Unfortunately, I have not discussed about it. That cannot happen. Yeah. Here I have just discussed it. Okay. This is the purpose, my dear friend. See, one word, if you ask me one word, you can elaborate the same in the examination. It is disaster management, disaster mitigation. See, once a cyclone is named, we'll understand, then I'm just giving you as a point. Okay. Your comment session is also open, right? Somewhere, if you feel like, okay, this point can also be added, I welcome it. Okay, right. Now, my dear friends, adopting names for cyclone makes it easier for people to remember as opposed to numbers and technical terms. Apart from the general public, my dear friends, it also helps the scientific community, the media, disaster management, etc. So, Once I have a name for a cyclone, communication becomes easy. And communication is very important during the disaster management phase. Okay. So with a name, it is easy to identify the individual cyclone, create awareness of its development, rapidly right? Somewhere, say, for example, disseminate warning to increased, say, for example, almost community preparedness and remove confusion where there are multiple cyclone system over a region. Sometimes what happens, same region, few kilometers away, there is a possibility that two cyclones or more than one cyclone get formed. Okay. Very rarely, they may go for what? Cyclones may couple with each other and it can form a larger cyclonic circulation, but that is very, very rare. But otherwise, two cyclones formed in the same region, it can travel in a slightly a different, say, for example, path. So if I have a name for it, identifying the cyclone or disaster mitigation, communication regarding the same becomes what? Easy. Okay. So, how also we have answered? Why also we have answered? How? Already I said, from the set of preconceived names, somewhere we take the names which is already there. Sarcastically, we say, we have the names of the cyclone, only we are waiting for the cyclone to come. Right? We have a set of preconceived names. Why exactly cyclones are named? To facilitate communication for effective disaster management or disaster mitigation practice. That's it. Okay? Right. Right, my friends. So, one question. What are the points? Only two dimension of the answers we have. Okay. Now coming to the second question, my friends. Okay. Though Uttar Pradesh leads in sugar production, it is Maharashtra that leads in sugar production. Okay. Read the question very carefully. Though Uttar Pradesh leads in sugar cane production, Maharashtra leads in sugar production. So one state is having, say for example, more of cane production. One state is having more of sugar production. So the question says analyze. Okay. See, somewhere checking the validity of the statement is not needed. Okay. Because they have given it as a statement. Even say, for example, technically, see this particular statement year on year it will change. Only after, say, for example, you means looking at this economic survey, exact facts and figures somewhere I can take it. But this is very popular statement. But year on year, marginal difference will be there. But don't worry about it. Any statement that is taken, you take the statement as though it is right factually. Okay. Having said that, I have to analyze it. And which part of the syllabus I am just taking this question, if you ask me, I'll show you the syllabus part. There is a syllabus part saying that factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary, and tertiary sector industries. When I talk about this primary sector industries is nothing but what? Agro-based industries. Okay. So under the head called as agro-based industries, I have just taken this question. And of course, here also, locational aspect of industries, I have just given you one topic as sugar industries or sugar refineries as such. Okay. I will go for the question. Okay. The only thing is that I should understand that why Maharashtra particularly, talk about Maharashtra, is actually, say, for example, having more of sugar production in spite of the fact Uttar Pradesh is going for what? Sugar cane production as such. Okay, right. Now, going for the answer. There are marked difference between sugar industries of the northern and peninsular India. The very first statement itself, I am just giving right a picture that Uttar Pradesh generally comes under the northern plains. When I talk about the geographical classification, it comes under the northern plains, right? Now, the northern part of the country. And Maharashtra belongs to the peninsular part of India. So, what happens? Basically, there comes the climatic difference. When I talk about the northern plains of India, indirectly I'm telling the examiner that it belongs to subtropical condition. So, even the sugarcane that is cultivated belongs to the subtropical variety of cane. Peninsular India belongs to this tropical variety of this cane. So, speaking about the fact there are two types of sugarcane that is, say, for example, being cultivated. Peninsular India cultivates tropical variety of sugarcane. Northern plains of India, say, for example, they cultivate subtropical variety of sugarcane. Okay. Now, Very first point, I am just telling the examiner that I am reading the question correctly, and I'm just, my approach to the answer is what? Very precise. Okay, right. Then I can say, as a result of better condition prevailing in the peninsular India, the sugar industry is gradually shifting from the northern plains of India to peninsular part of India. Slowly, steadily, the sugar industries, refineries in the peninsular part of India is what? Somewhere it is increasing. Right. This is evident from the fact that previously northern part of India used to produce 90 percentage of India's sugar demand. Okay. But now if you ask me, it got reduced to only 35 to 40 percentage. Okay. Right. So a brief description of difference between the sugar industries of the northern peninsular India, northern and peninsular India, I'm just giving it. Point by point, we can take it. Number one, peninsular India has tropical climate, which gives higher yield per unit area as compared to the northern plains of India. Directly I said, tropical variety of cane will be having higher yield. Okay. Whereas subtropical variety will be having lesser yield. Okay. See, I am not saying separately that subtropical variety, excuse me, right, will be having a lesser yield, right? When I said tropical variety has more yield means subtropical variety, that itself indirectly I am saying that subtropical variety will be having comparatively lesser yield. Okay. Number two, very important difference. Sucrose content. Sucrose content in the tropical variety, that is Maharashtrian variety, will be more, right? Is be higher in the peninsular region. Okay. Sucrose content is also higher in tropical variety of sugarcane in the peninsular region. Okay. It means the sucrose content in the cane will be higher. Then number three, see the difference. The crushing season is also much longer in peninsular region than in northern plains. Okay. Crushing season. When talk about, say, for example, harvest will be more or less similar. But I understand all the canes that has been harvested may not, say, for example, almost it cannot be somewhere crushed during the same season. So you'll be storing it slowly, steadily, you'll be crushing it. For example, the crushing season in northern parts of India is only about 4 months. Only 4 months. Somewhere it ranges from, say, for example, November to February. But when I talk about peninsular region, it is 7 to 8 months. Right? 7 to 8 months is there. So there again, say, for example, I understand, right? The crushing period, you have ample time. Say, for example, slowly, steadily, batch wise, you can go for crushing. Okay. And it extends from somewhere around October to May, June. Okay. And of course, this is one of the, say, for example, cooperative sugar mills. When I talk about, say, for example, the network of cooperative organization, they are more wider and they are more deep rooted and very strong when it comes to the peninsular part of India, particularly when I talk about Gujarat and Maharashtra region, right? The cooperative models are very, very strong. Even when I talk about, say, for example, Amul, Amul stands for what? Anand Milk Union Limited, you call them as what? Amul, right? So cooperative movement is very strong in this part of the country as such. Okay. And my dear friends, very, very important, not only here, this particular answer, uh, any industry they talk about, any industry which is dependent on modern machineries, this point always you can add it. For example, most of the mills in the peninsular regions are new, which are equipped with modern machineries because of the poor taxes. For example, when I talk about the import of machineries, since you have an access, ease of access to the port, right? Almost say, for example, bringing the modern machineries, right? Importing the machineries becomes easier when it comes to the peninsular part of India. Of course, I understand Maharashtra, you have two major ports in it. Okay. So import of modern machinery in peninsular part of India is very, very viable than talking about the northern parts of the country. And not only sugar refineries, I can write the same thing for cotton. I can write it for jute. I can write it for, means I can write it for any kind of industries as such. Okay. So these are some of the points what I have just added here. Again, I'm telling you, if you want to add any of the points here, my dear friends, you are welcome. Okay. So any points you want to add, something like that. I've just covered the major dimensions, right? So all the facts, if you take it, okay, only one concluding paragraph or one, say, for example, one or two sentence you can write it. With the analysis of the above facts, it is evident that though Uttar Pradesh has more of sugarcane production. Maharashtra happens to be the largest producer of sugar. Somewhere you can conclude in, say, for example, one or two lines. That should be more than enough. Okay, right. Right, my dear friends. One more question, which is explicitly mentioned in your syllabus, paragraph 3. Even question number 1 also I have just taken from the same paragraph. Important geophysical phenomena such as earthquake, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclones, etc. Cyclone is explicitly given. Even last year cyclone question was asked. That doesn't mean that this year they will not ask. There are instances where, say, for example, they have asked about the related same, say, for example, the similar question or similar area repeatedly, right? Not the exact question, but similar areas as such. Okay. Now here, the question is, first I'll just divide it. What are some of the conditions required for the formation of cyclone? Very simple. The question part 1 of the question is very straightforward. Essential condition for the formation of cyclones. Right. I have to answer. The second part of the question, explicitly they have divided the question, right? Explain why Bay of Bengal is more prone to cyclone than that of Arabian Sea. See, my dear friends, here, this is one question where, without giving A and B, actually speaking, they are asking you two questions, 3A and 3B. But only thing is that they have not justified the word limit. Okay. See, if they have not justified the word limit, I'm telling you, rationally you divide as 50 percentage and 50 percentage. Okay. It means if this question is for 250 words, I can write, say, for example, this part for 125 words. Or assume, say, for example, this question is for 150 words. Then I can write it for 75 words. And the remaining, I can write it for what? 75 words. Over. Okay. See, here itself, each and every question you read, my dear friends, there itself, I have to divide the question. Right? For example, here, the very first question I have given it, right? Only one question is there. But only one question is there. But only thing is that we have somewhere divided that one question into two segments. What are the two segments? Number one, how is one segment? Why is one segment? How I can write it for 75 words? Somewhere why I can write it for 75 words. But here, slightly say, for example, up and down you can have it. For example, even if you write how is a very big topic if you ask me. Okay, write it for 100 words, nothing wrong. Right? Why you write it for 50 words? Not like, say, for example, 140 words I'll be writing for how, and only 10 words I'll be writing for what, why. Then you're not justifying it. Okay. Right. So first part of the question, again I said if it is a 250 words, give an introduction. Otherwise, giving an introduction is not needed. Okay. Now here, they say, I'm just giving an introduction. A tropical cyclone is a rapidly rotating storm system characterized by a low pressure center, right? Closed low level atmospheric circulation, strong wind, right? Spiral arrangement of thunderstorm that produces heavy rains or squall. Squall means very bad weather. We call them as what? Squall. Okay, right. Or simply you can say cyclones or intense low pressure system. You call them as what? Cyclones. Simple over. Now you can say the ideal condition needed for the genesis or the formation of tropical cyclones, or give it as a point. Okay. Large sea surface with temperature higher than 27 degrees centigrade. See, one thing, we are not very sure about this temperature. Somewhere, do not exhibit the ignorance in the examination. Normally, we have seen, right? Say, for example, students will be writing, right? The 5 main requirement for tropical cyclone. Don't write this number. If you're writing this number, it is your, say, for example, it becomes your duty to write, say, for example, all 5. See, very practical that out of 5, out of 4, you may forget 1 or 2. Okay. So don't write the numbers. You simply write the major requirement or the condition needed for the cyclogenesis, cyclone formation. That's that alone. Don't put it in numbers. Right? And say, for example, here again I'm telling you, if you're not very sure about the temperature and all, don't write the temperature. Somewhere you can say, right, very high temperature. That's all. You simply write that very high temperature. Over. Correct? It is over. Right? Very high temperature. How high? See, one thing, prelims is different. Mains is different. Mains, whatever you know, you put it in a best of the format. in order to convert that into marks. That should be more than enough. Okay. So somewhere I'm just telling you, if you do not know the number, simply write it very high temperature. Okay. That should be more than enough. Right. Then of course, presence of Coriolis force. Coriolis force is the one which makes it as a circulation. Okay. Which makes it as a circulation. Coriolis force is the one which, say for example, keeps this low pressure as a low pressure. If Coriolis force is not there, if deflection is not there, what happens? If I have a low pressure, directly the wind from all sides will be entering the low pressure, and this low pressure will cease to exist. Correct? So what sustains this low pressure? What intensifies this low pressure is Coriolis force. That's the reason, my dear friends. The place where exactly the Coriolis force is weak, Coriolis effectivity is very, very less, you may not have cyclones. Finest reason. Why exactly equatorial region do not experience cyclone, if you ask me? Because right at the equator, Coriolis force is absent. And in equatorial region, the effectivity of Coriolis force is minimum. That's the reason. Normally, say for example, this right very near to the equatorial region, particularly when I talk about this 5 degree north to 5 degree south, cyclones seldom occurs. Okay, because that circulation will not be there. Okay, so small variation in the vertical wind speed, this is also needed. Okay, and very, very important, my dear friends, all of a sudden cyclones will not get formed. Cyclone is an intensified low pressure system, right? If that is the case, already a low pressure system should be there. Okay, this low pressure system gets intensified to form what? Cyclone. See, any intense weather mechanism you take it, all of a sudden they will not get developed. Slowly, steadily, it will form as a low pressure. Low pressure, say for example, will slowly, steadily grow in intensity. At one point of time, it becomes what? Cyclonic circulation. Okay. So you need a pre-existence of a very weak low pressure. Even the weak, leave it. Okay. Low pressure, right? Or I can also write it as what? ITCZ. Sometimes the same is also referred as what? ITCZ. You need the pre-existence of ITCZ or a low pressure. Okay. And say, for example, upper divergence above the sea level system. And one more thing, the points are upper divergence in the sense at tropopause level, you should be having one high pressure. Technically, we call them as what? Blocking anticyclone. And one more thing, yes, some of the points, if you feel that it is technical, leave it, nothing wrong, right? See, you should understand my difference. Prelims versus mains, if you ask me what is the main difference, major difference. Prelims is all about right versus wrong. Correct. Either your answer will be right or your answers will be wrong. But mains is not like that. Mains, it is between good versus bad. Right? Either your quality, say for example, quality of the answers can be good or your quality of the answer can be bad. Even bad answer can also fetch you some mark, 1 or 2 marks. Okay. So this is what the basic difference is, right? Not necessarily every answer should be extraordinary. That's what I said. Even above average should be fine enough. Some points, if you're not knowing it, leave it. That's again, I'm telling you, don't write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And say, for example, after writing this number, you're somewhere forgetting it. Don't do that. Okay, right? Don't write numbers unless and until you can remember, recollect, and put it in papers. Okay, right. So first part of the question we have answered. Condition required we have answered. Okay. Only I'm adding more words. While these conditions are necessary for tropical cyclones formation, right, they do not guarantee that tropical cyclones will always form even if all conditions pre-exist together. Okay, not necessarily. Okay, right. Now, answering the second part of the question, why Bay of Bengal is more prone to cyclone than Arabian Sea? That's what the understanding of the question is all about. See, if you ask me what is the ratio, Arabian Sea versus Bay of Bengal, when the recording system started, even if I'm just going for Wikipedia and somewhere searching for it, the ratio is 1 is to 3. See, some of the sites I have given, I have seen that ratio is 1 is to 2. Some of the books I have just given, I mean, I have seen that ratio is 1 is to 4. What is the meaning of this 1 is to 2 and 1 is to 4? I have taken the average, not only these numbers, right? When the recording system started, how many cyclones we had in Arabian Sea versus how many cyclones we had in Bay of Bengal, if you take it, approximately the ratio is 1 is to 3. Means what? Every one cyclone in Arabian Sea will be having 3 cyclones in what? Bay of Bengal. Okay. One cyclone, Biparjoy in Arabian Sea, right? One cyclone is over. It means we are waiting for another three cyclones in what? Bay of Bengal. Law of average things. Okay. Only thing is that I have to understand why Bay of Bengal, the number of cyclone formations in Bay of Bengal is what? Considerably higher than Arabian Sea. Okay. See, there are n number of technical aspects out there, but still, the paragraph what I have just given is what? Almost it shows there in news I have just taken it, but I'll just tell you how to simply you can rewrite it. Okay. I'll read it first, then I'll tell you how to rewrite it in simple terms as such. Okay. Over Arabian Sea, rainfall is much less on an average. The ocean plays a very major role in keeping the Arabian Sea relatively dry. Okay. Our recent research shows that there are two causes. Number one, the wind over Arabian Sea are stronger because of the presence of mountains of East Africa, right? They may have a high pressure there. The strong winds force much more vigorous oceanic circulation, and the heat received at the surface is transported southwards and into the deeper oceans as such. It means because of the strong wind, the temperature, say for example, the low pressure, see, low pressure is formed wherever the temperature is higher. Okay. The higher temperature generally do not remains over in Arabian Sea, right, on a extended basis. Okay. The wind over Bay of Bengal is in contrast or more sluggish, and the bay is unable to remove the heat received at the surface. So the heat will be more or less, say for example, be there in the Bay of Bengal itself, right? Secondly, the bay receives more rainfall. It also receives more fresh water from the large rivers, especially from Ganga and Brahmaputra that empties into. Okay, this freshens the surface of the bay and stabilizes the water column, making it more difficult for the wind to mix the warm, stable surface layer with cooler water below. Okay, see, I have just taken exactly the, say for example, almost the whatever the report has said, I have just given it, but I'll just make you to rewrite it in a simple fashion. Okay. In Arabian Sea, there is no such stabilizing effect. As a consequence, the mixing of cooler water below is more vigorous. Since a sea surface temperature of about 27-28 degrees needed necessary for convection to take place in the atmosphere, this condition is satisfied in Bay of Bengal, right? But not much in Arabian Sea. Everything is fine. Okay. Now, the simplest way, if you ask me, number one, I will say Bay of Bengal is more continental. What is the meaning of this continental, if you ask me? It means they are more surrounded by land. Surrounded by land. So, normally what happens, my dear friends? Any water body which is more surrounded by land, if I just take it, they'll be having what? Very high temperature. Okay. Number one, the very first reason for having more cyclones in Bay of Bengal, number one, see, the research findings indirectly says that yes, how exactly the higher temperature is what retained in Bay of Bengal, where's Arabian Sea, somewhere that higher temperature is what removed. But fundamental idea, temperature, surface temperature of Bay of Bengal is more warmer than Arabian Sea. This is fundamental, right? Only thing is that I have to justify why. If ask me why, if you ask me, yes, because I understand Bay of Bengal is more continental. If you take the map of India, it's not map of India, map of Asia, you'll be finding that Bay of Bengal is more surrounded by land than that of Arabian Sea. Arabian Sea will be wide open. Okay. So given the case, surface temperature will be comparatively less, right? So the low pressure or ITCs are getting formed over Arabian Sea probability itself is what? Less. This is easy way of writing it. Okay, say it is continental. Say Bay of Bengal is more. Say for example, Bay of Bengal is more. Excuse me. Right? More warmer than, right, Arabian Sea. Right, my dear friends. So both part of the questions we have just answered it. Okay. Right. Right. Now coming to the fourth question. Yeah. Excuse me. Right. Now coming to the fourth question. What do you mean by footloose industries? With example, discuss some of the footloose industry in India. Again, under which segment, which part of the syllabus I have taken the statement question, I'll tell you. Second para, second part. Factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary, and tertiary. Locational aspect. See, some of the industries you take it, they have a specific reason why exactly these industries are located in a particular place. Okay. But if you ask me footloose industries are those industries which can be set up anywhere. It can be set up anywhere, my dear friends. Okay. The locational aspect itself is not there. See, for example, normally any industry you take it, either an industry will be set up near the place of the raw material where you find it, or you will be setting up this industry near the place of the market where you can sell the finished goods and products, or you can set up these industries anywhere between the place of raw material and the market. It depends. It depends on the nature of the raw material. The raw material is heavy, very heavy. The raw material starts losing its weight during the process, right? You call them as what? Weight losing raw material. And of course, weight losing raw material will be located near the place of the raw materials. We call that as weight losing industry. For example, iron and steel industry, sugar industries, I'll take it. If I'm just somewhere taking 100 ton of sugarcane, 100 ton, what I get it as sugar is only 10 to 12 tons. See, nearly 90 percentage is wasted. Of course, it's not completely wasted, right? Say, for example, the bagasse is used for, say, for example, molasses is used, right? Bagasse is used, paper industry, say, for example, they use it, right? Even, say, for example, fermentation industries also they use it. Okay, whatever, n number of other usage of the same, say, for example, the so-called, the residual, the residuaries are there. But otherwise, what I'm just telling you, for 100 tons of sugarcane, what I get it is only 10 tons. Correct. If that is the case, remaining 90 ton, I understand, say, for example, they do not form the major, right, extract as such. So what happens? This type of industry or this type of raw material, we call them as what? Weight losing. At every stage of processing, it loses its weight. Correct? We call them as what? Weight losing. Some of the industries, what happens, my different, something like assemblage industry, small components will be there. Okay. If you say, for example, start assembling all the small components, it becomes heavier and heavier. So the finished products becomes very large in size. And once it becomes very large in size, again, it will be very difficult for you to transport. Finest example, if you ask me, I would say automobile industries. Automobile industries, what happens? Small components and all, say, for example, you will be assembling it. So once it becomes a big vehicle, transportation becomes costlier. Okay. So here what happens here, this industry, I understand every process, right? The weight of the product is increasing. So essentially speaking, there are two types of industries based on the type of raw material. One, you call them as what? Weight gaining, something like automobile industries, I said. Number two, you call them as what? Weight losing, something like sugar refineries, I said. Okay. Right. So what is footloose industries then? Any industry that is neither weight gaining industries nor weight losing industries, you call them as what? Footloose industries. It means these industries, see, for example, normally weight gaining industry, where exactly this industry will be located, if you ask me, it will be located very near to the marketplace. Where weight losing industry will be located very near to the place where exactly you get what? Raw material. Okay. But footloose industries are those industries which can be set up anywhere. And any industry which is neither weight gaining nor weight losing, you call them as what? Footloose industries. See, how come? See, there is also one type of industry called as industries which is based on pure raw material, right? Pure raw material also neither it loses weight nor it gains weight. A finest example, if you ask me, cotton. Cotton is a classical example of what? Pure raw material. But footloose industry is slightly different from pure raw material. In what way, if you ask me? Any industry you take it. Why the location of industry is very important, if you ask me? Because Location of the industry is the one which is ultimately going to determine the cost of the product. Because cost of any product you take it, this cost will include both manufacturing cost and the transportation cost. Location of industries plays a very vital role in somewhere, right, rationalizing this transportation cost. Why exactly you choose a particular industry based on location? Primarily to reduce the transportation cost. So once you reduce the transportation cost, the cost of the finished product will also be what? Comparatively less. But here, footloose industries are those industries where the transportation cost is negligible. On what occasion it will be negligible? It will be having a fixed cost to transport, right? Either you transport these goods for a longer distance or a shorter distance, more or less, right? The ratio of transportation will be more or less similar. That's the reason normally we say this footloose industries can be set up anywhere. This is very important. As a concept, also, this footloose industry is very important. Okay. So, my dear friends, here, when we talk about footloose industries, right? Now says footloose industries can also refer to the processing of product that are neither weight gaining nor weight losing, as I already said. Footloose industry is a general term for an industry that can be placed and located at any location, at any location, without effect from the factors of production such as resources, land, labor, capital, enterprises. Nothing. Wherever you want to set up these industries, you can set up these industries, right? So generally, my dear friends, these are which product, if you ask me, when I said fixed transportation cost, the size of the product should be small, the price of the product should be more. Only then the transportation cost becomes negligible. Okay. So having said this, now I can understand. These industries often have spatially fixed cost of transportation. Okay. Which means the cost of the product do not change despite where the product is assembled. Okay. The product generally has a high value addition and small in size. That's what I said. So that transportation cost is only a small fraction of the total cost. Diamonds, Surat, okay, computer chips, okay, not the potato chips, okay, right. Whatever, I'm just talking about the chip manufacturing, mobile manufacturing, or some of the examples of footloose industry. See, even pharmaceuticals also, I can bring it under this footloose industry. So only thing is that you can expand. Always you can expand the horizon. See, comment session, if you want to add some of the footloose industries also, you can add it. Whether that is a footloose industry or not, I can tell you, right? While we are discussing itself, we can add it. And one more thing, between what I teach and what it reaches you, there is a slight delay of 15 seconds approximately. Okay, right. And as I already said, my dear friends, generally these industries, right, are non-polluting industries. Okay, right. Now, reading the question again. Somewhere I have justified what exactly is footloose industries. What do you mean by footloose industries? The first part of the questions we have taken. Now, the second question, they say, with example, discuss some of the footloose industry in India. Okay, right. So, characters, if you want to write it, you can write it. These industries require small plant size compared to heavy industry. Okay, right. These are less dependent on specific raw material. Most of the raw materials are small and light so that easily they can be transported. Skilled workers is needed, but okay. Like the inputs, output is also lightweight and can be easily transported to the market. Correct. Most of the footloose industries produces low volume but high value output. And as I said, these are environmentally friendly industries, as the process involved in these industries have a negligible carbon footprint. Right? See, not always, most of them, because immediately you can question what is this chip manufacturing companies don't, right? You're not, say, for example, are they not environmentally polluting? See, when I talk about the magnitude of how manufacturing industries pollute, uh, say, for example, generally manufacturing industries pollute, footloose industries, they do not have that much of carbon footprint. So it prefers location with peaceful and cost friendly as to attract human capital. See, I tell you, IT industries and ITES is a classical example of footloose industry. See, okay, that is a service sector industries, that is okay. But if you ask me what exactly has made people to choose Bangalore as a destination, which has eventually become the Silicon Valley of India, if you ask me what is the reason, climate played a very important. Okay, even pharmaceutical companies, they prefer climate. So based on the conducive, say for example, climate and poor taxes, sometimes they go for it. That's the reason. Mostly this Gujarat and Maharashtra, right, along with Himachal Pradesh, is known for more of pharma companies as such. Okay. Also, location with good connectivity of roads, railways, telecommunication, etc., are preferred to facilitate quick movement of skilled labor, not the goods, but for the skilled laborers and high value outputs. Okay, right. Actually, my dear friends, this question I have not answered the second part. Okay, only thing is that thinking that okay, you will add some, say for example, some of the industries from your side. Okay, the comment session is open. If you want to add some of the industries, you can. Otherwise, I'll just give you an example, right? Say diamonds is one example, footloose industries. I can talk about Surat. Computer chip manufacturing, again, I can talk about it, right? Somewhere I can talk about it. I can talk about, right? Maybe I can talk about Bengaluru, right? I can talk about, say, for example, Gurgaon, Noida belt. Again, I can talk about it. Okay. Mobile manufacturing, again, the same sections I can talk about it. Okay. Right. Then, of course, even say, for example, small scale industry, even cotton textiles, if you ask me, it is based on a pure raw material. But small scale cotton textile industries can also be treated as a footloose industries, right? Very rare occasions, I'm just telling you. Okay. Very rare occasions. Okay. Pharmaceutical is one example. Cotton also you leave it better, right? Instead of, say, for example, getting into that debate, right? Pharmaceutical is one example where I can treat it as what? Footloose industries. Only thing is that I have to take the footloose industries, some of the examples, and I have to talk about it. Okay? Right. Right, my friends. This is all about footloose industries. Right. Coming to question number 5. So today I have taken only 6 questions for our discussion. Okay. Almost all segments of the syllabus I'm just covering. What do you mean by energy security? First part of the question. How far EEZs, right? That is exclusive economic zone, can augment the energy security of a nation somewhere to supplement, increase, substitute, whatever you can call it as. Okay. What do you mean by energy security? So, first part of the question I have to answer, what is energy security? The second part of the question I should say that how far exclusive economic zone plays a very important role, okay, in augmenting the energy security of a nation. Okay. See, energy security, not internal security, energy security. First and foremost, I should understand what exactly is energy security and which part of the syllabus I am asking this question. I will tell you, right? The syllabus says distribution of key natural resources. When I say natural resources, energy resources is also part of natural resources. So when I say energy resources, I can talk about the energy resources which is somewhere there within the territorial land territory of the country as well as what exclusive economic zone of the oceans, right? Both way I can take it. Okay, now first I'm just defining what exactly is energy security. Okay, right. And talk about IEA, if you want to expand it, you expand it. Otherwise it is a, say for example, popular abbreviation, so I think it is not needed. Okay. So International Energy Agency, if you want to write it within bracket also you can write it International Energy Agency. Okay. So according to IEA, it defines energy security as what? Very, very important. All words are very important. Uninterrupted availability of energy source at an affordable price. Two words are very, very important. Number one, uninterrupted. Number two is affordable price. That is the definition of energy security that is given by International Energy Agency as such. I repeat again, uninterrupted availability of energy source at an affordable price. Okay, that's very, very important, right? Having said this, right, I should talk about the energy security dimensions. Okay, only thing is that I'm just somewhere writing it, elaborating it for the simple reason, right? I'm trying to answer the first part of the question because what do you mean by energy security means what? When the definition is over, that part of the question is over. But somewhere I have to somewhere justify it. I said at least write 50 to 75 words I have to write about this energy security. Then I'll see that how far exclusive economic zone can augment the energy security of a nation as such. Okay. So having said this, two dimensions I'll take it: long term security, energy security, and short term energy security. What is this long term energy security? Long term energy security mainly deals with the timely investment to supply energy in line with economic development and for sustainable environmental needs. Alright. It also focuses for what? Future. Okay. Invest today so that future, when say for example, you anticipate an economic growth, for sustaining that economic growth, you should also say, for example, have the somewhere supporting availability of the energy as such. Accordingly, you invest in it. All right. It is more futuristic in nature. Short term, right now. Short term energy security focuses on availability of energy system, right, to react promptly to sudden changes within the supply demand balance. Right now, say for example, all of a sudden they say, right, summers. Of course, we are there in summers. They say, right, till monsoon, most of the places I'll be having what? Power cut, right? Say for example, power cut. Almost say for example, they have a scheduled power cut. They call it as a scheduled power cut. Why there is a scheduled power cut? There is no maintenance. Why there is a scheduled power cut? For the simple reason, right? Say for example, there is a mismatch in the supply and demand segment of this energy production. Okay. So some way, the temporary gap, if we are trying to fill in, we call them as what? Short-term energy security. Okay, right. So lack of energy security is thus linked to negative economic and social impact. My dear friends, normally we say energy security is very important. The long term itself, directly, indirectly, we said energy security is very important. Why? Because it is very, very important to ensure the sustained economic development, right? Sustained economic development, this energy security is very important. So, if lack of energy security is thus linked to what? Negative economic growth. Am I right? And the social implication of either physically unavailability of energy or prices that are not competitive and or right overly volatile as such. Okay. So, one thing is there, energy security is very much important to ensure what? The sustained growth of a country as such. Okay. Now, coming to the second part of the question. How come exclusive economic zone, right? What are the energies that we can depend on exclusive economic zone? See, one thing, when I said exclusive economic zone, it means we are trying to search the energy outside the land. What is the energy which is available within the land? I can talk about, say, for example, the conventional coal, thermal energy, hydroelectric power generation. Okay, it is available. All right. Okay, sometimes I can also talk about atomic energy available. Okay. Small hydros available, geothermal available. See, I'm not here differentiating between renewable and non-renewable. No, even solar I can take it, wind I can take it. All these are there available within the land. But what is that energy which is slightly outside, say available in the exclusive economic zone? And my dear friend, see, exclusive economic zone, not only for energy, plenty of resources it gives you. Name itself says exclusive economic zone. So first let me define, tell the examiner that I know what is exclusive economic zone. Okay. So exclusive economic zone is a sea, right? Or that part of the ocean or sea zone prescribed by United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, right? In short, you call them as what? UN clause. To be very precise, UN clause number 3, right? United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. Okay, right. Okay, which a state has a special rights regarding the exploration and use of marine resources, including energy production from water and wind. Tomorrow, if you want to set up a windmill there, you can set up. Nobody is going to ask you. Okay. Of course, unless and until you don't have an environmental concern over there. Okay. Now coming to the different sources of energy. What are the different sources of energy we have, right? I'm just giving you the exclusive economic zone of India, right? And India's exclusive economic zone is the 18th largest exclusive economic zone in the entire world. That also I've just given this as a fact. India has the 18th largest exclusive economic zone with a total size of, right, somewhere around 2.3 million square kilometers. See, when I write this statement saying that India has 18th largest exclusive economic zone, it appears as though we have large, but actually speaking, very small. Population wise, right now, India is the second largest. But very soon, we'll be overtaking China. I'm very optimistic. Somewhere I'm just going by this world population meters and other projection. By the time our census is out, I believe, I may be wrong also. I'll be happy if I'm wrong in that aspect. Okay. Somewhere my belief says by the time census is out, India will be the largest country comes to the population. So population wise, right now we are the second largest country. Area wise, we are the seventh largest country in the world. All right, seventh largest. And if that is the case, exclusive economic zone, what we possess is very, very less. Very, very less. Okay. In that way, saying 18th largest exclusive economic zone, somewhere just for factual information, I'm just giving you. But given the size and given the exclusive economic zone share, what we have is what? Very, 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 very less. Okay. But whatever it is the case, somewhere let me discuss about the aspects of the question. Different oceanic energy resources and their significance, right? See, let's not write it in detail. This much detail is actually not needed. Just for factual purpose, I have just given you because these facts you can also add, say for example, few facts if you want to take it, you can take it. See, conventional hydrocarbons, I can talk about offshore oil field. I can talk about offshore natural gases. Wherever, say for example, I have offshore oil fields, they're all, I'll also have what? Natural gas. But vice versa is not possible. Okay. I can talk about, say, for example, the Bombay High. I can talk about the KG basins, etc. Okay. Very, very important. And one more thing. Offshore oil fields, my difference, generally they are identified in continental shelves of exclusive economics. Okay. Very, very important. Okay. Some of the facts also I have just given, but writing that much fact in the examination is not needed. Okay. So India has totally 26 sedimentary basins covering an area of somewhere around 3.1 million square kilometer of an area. Right? Okay. Now here, all this technicality and all we leave it. Okay. The only thing is that I'm just telling you natural gas, petroleum. I can talk about, say, for example, this. I can talk about Gulf of Cambay. I can talk about Gulf of Kutch. I can talk about Bombay. Right? When it comes to natural gas, I can talk about KG basin. That is more than enough. Okay. Krishna Godavari basins, if I'm just talking about it, that is more than enough. Right. Separately, also, I've just written about this KG basin, but that is for methane. Atomic minerals. How come atomic minerals, if you ask me, see, particularly when I talk about monosite sand. Monosite sand is available in both, say, for example, east and west coast. Whereas Kerala coast, the concentration, the largest concentration of monosite sand is there in what? Kerala coast. See, Bihar also we have this monosite sand, but only thing is that Bihar I have taken it because Bihar is more plains. It doesn't come under exclusive economic zone. That's the reason Bihar I have just taken it. Okay, right? Somewhere, my dear friends, the anticipated figure says over nearly 15,000 tons of uranium is estimated to be contained in what? Monosite sand as such. Okay. Somewhere it is used as a fuel for nuclear energy production as such. Then you can talk about KG basins. Okay. And say, for example, there is one estimate says, okay, researchers, right, almost say, for example, ARI have found out that methane hydrate deposits are located in KJ basin or of biogenic in origin. That much is not needed. Even the lowest estimate of methane present in the methane hydrates in KG basin is twice that of all fossil reserves available worldwide. It means once you start extracting it, right, That becomes, say, for example, almost the most commonest energy, right? The mode of energy what we'll be possessing. Tidal energy. Coming to tidal energy. And my friends, this is an official data says that India has a tidal energy potential, not production. Production is different, potential is different. Potential of somewhere around 8,000 megawatt. But interestingly, if I all add individually, if I add all this, right, how much I'll be getting it? Say, for example, 7,000 megawatt in Gulf of Campe, right? That is Gulf of Kambat. Either you call them as Gulf of Kambat or you call them as what? Gulf of Campe, right? 1,200, say, for example, megawatt in Gulf of Kutch, right? Gulf of Kutch, right? And somewhere around 100 megawatt in Sundarbans regions of West Bengal. So, the coastal regions of Gujarat alone accounts for 8,200 megawatt, and Sundarban regions, West Bengal, if I take it again 100 megawatt, if you add it, it is somewhere around 8,300 megawatt. That's what approximately we said. Government data. This is the government data, right? Somewhere around 8,000 megawatt of potential we have tidal energy. And what else I can add? If you want to add, I can also add about OTEC, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion. Again, extensive exclusive economic zone helps us to harness more of ocean thermal energy conversions. Okay, right. Right, my friends. Now, coming to another part of the question, glacial retreat in Himalayas may cause serious water crisis in India. Critically analyze. What part of the syllabus, if you ask me? The third paragraph, second part, right? The third paragraph, second part, my dear friends. If I just talk about this third paragraph, important geophysical phenomena. Okay, the second part. Again, very important. Geographical features and their location, particularly changes in critical geographic features. What all it includes, including water bodies and ice caps. Right? Every year, somewhere around one question you can expect from this region, right? Including water bodies and ice caps and even flora and fauna, right? And the effect of such changes. Simple. Changes in the critical features. When I talk about changes in the critical geographical feature, what can change in your time and my time or our time? Somewhere I understand it is largely the water bodies, ice caps. I mean, that's what it can change. I mean, year on year, you can see the changes as such. Okay. So, taking one question from this particular topic, my friends. One question from this particular topic. Okay. Glacial retreat in Himalayas may cause a serious water crisis in India. That is a statement. You have to critically analyze it. Okay. What are the different ways that, say, for example, it can result in serious water crisis? What will be the, say, for example, immediate effect and long-term effect? Both I have to understand. Mostly, we'll try to somewhere we'll try to discuss in terms of the water crisis. Okay, see, it can affect agriculture. It can affect flora and fauna. It can affect the coastal erosions. It can affect the coral reefs. Plenty of things it can do, right? Plenty. Even poor taxes it can affect. Can result in flood. Okay, whatever it is the case, whatever the case be, we'll try to somewhere revolve around this water crisis as such. Okay. Now see, what is interesting? Today we are talking about global warming. Today we are talking about climate change. Today we are talking about the deglaciation. Today we are talking about the retreat of the glaciers, right? But interestingly, there is one region in Himalayas where, interestingly, glaciers are growing. We call them as what? Karakoram anomaly. Most of the glaciers in Himalayas are retreating; they are somewhere diminishing. But Karakoram alone, it is growing. That is slightly different because the temperature of Karakoram is what? Very less compared to the other regions of the Himalayan region. Sun-bearing slope in Karakoram range is also very less. And of course, the western disturbance, excuse me, Western disturbance brings more moisture to what? The Karakoram ranges. It's okay. Karakoram anomaly, I am keeping it as separate. The rest of it we'll discuss. For example, revolving around this question. One of the most dramatic evidence that Earth's climate change is warming rapidly is dwindling disappearance of mountain glaciers around the world. Simple fact, I'm talking about deglaciation. Okay. Deglaciation is very important. Evident fact. Evident fact. Right. We are the witness saying that okay, deglaciation is taking place. Okay. The recent study has revealed that Himalayan glaciers are melting twice, right? Melting twice as fast as now as they were before the turn of century. Okay. It's melting at the right twice fast. Correct. Now, particularly talking about Himalayan glaciers, my friend. Some of the facts what I'm just adding. Himalayan mountains are the third largest deposit of ice and snow in the world, only after what? Antarctica region and Arctic region. The third largest regions where I have the accumulation of glaciers is what? Himalayan region. Spanning for somewhere around 2000 kilometers. And with somewhere around 600 billion tons of ice, Himalayan glaciers supply, my dear friends, nearly 850 people with water for irrigation, hydropower, and drinking. Right? More than 750 people in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh get their water from the rivers that originate from Himalayan glaciers. That is more than twice the population of United States. This and all is actually not needed. Not needed, right? You can take it as what? Just information sake. Okay. Even I have just added the importance about some of the glaciers. Gangotri Glacier, one of the largest in Himalayan mountain, is the source of river Ganga, the most important source of fresh water, right? And electricity in India and Bangladesh. Okay. Now, when we talk about glaciers, the relations between monsoon and glacier medium. Glaciers depends on heavy precipitation to replenish the ice on an annual basis. But if monsoon disrupts, ice will also deplete. See, for example, I should understand India is a tropical country, and of course, you also have its extension in subtropical region. So, the melting of glaciers, ablation of glaciers can take place even during winters, but only the rate of melting will be less. Okay. So what happens? I'll be having the melt of glaciers happening throughout the year. Now, what happens normally, my dear friends? The rate of melting and the rate of accumulation should be more or less similar. Only then the size of the glacier will be maintained. For example, melting removes the size of the glacier, reduce the size of the glacier. Monsoon, of course, if I have a snow, right, somewhere snowfall, or say, for example, assume that even, right, somewhere rainfall is happening, eventually it is becoming, right, condensed. Eventually, if it is going for condensation, it becomes what? Part of a glacier. So, somewhere I understand the rate of addition and the rate of removal, more or less, if it is similar, the size of the glacier will be maintained. See, seasonal variations will be there, but I am talking about on annual basis. So, whenever monsoon fails, right, and say, for example, assume the melt of glaciers is more or less similar, what happens? Slowly, steadily, the ice will start or glacier will start depleting. Okay. Of course, I understand if that is the case, what all will happen? I understand as the glacier melts, the river will flood, flooding of rivers, people will get affected, crops and livestock get drowned, and hydroelectric power, say for example, plants will also get disrupted. All right. Also, weaker monsoon means less rainfall for the country as a whole, that invariably leads to drought and desertification of the land. See, in a long run, my dear friends, what all I'll just tell you. See, for example, this question is completely open-ended question. Importance of glacier. Glacial till, sometimes technically you also call them as what? Moraine. Unsorted glacial sediments provide fertile soil for growing crops. The most important resource provided by glacier is fresh water. Many rivers are fed by melting glaciers. Okay. Ice act like a protective cover. Very, very important point. See, what happens? Heat budget. You would have heard about heat budget, right? The net insolation received by Earth, or what exactly comes to the surface, is 53 percentage of insolation. But what percentage is actually absorbed by the surface of the Earth? If you ask me, only 51 percentage. If you ask me what exactly happens to the remaining 2 percentage, it is reflected back. right? It is reflected back. And if you ask me what plays a very important role in somewhere reflecting this 2%, it is ice caps. Tomorrow, if all the ice caps of the world is removed, Earth will not start, say for example, Earth will not have 51 percentage of insolation being absorbed. Earth will have nearly 53 percentage of insolation being absorbed. So, normally speaking, see one thing, if global warming is taking place, if the temperature is increasing, I understand, right? Glaciers will start melting. But what is very interesting here, if all the glaciers will melt, again the global start warming. That is a vicious cycle. Global warming resulting in deglaciation, that everybody understands. But I should also understand, deglaciation, excuse me, will further increase the global warming. Okay. Now, in the long run, what all will happen, my dear friends? For example, assume that glaciers are very, very less, right? It means impact of melting of glacier, extreme flood will take place. Okay, resulting in abrupt rise in the water input to the other water bodies like lakes, rivers, etc. It means you'll be losing, say, for example, larger part of the land also. And very seriously, my dear friends, futuristic, right? It may seriously affect the groundwater table, right? If steady flow of the water is not there, right? Kharif and Rabi crops may get what? Affected both. Kharif, summer, if the melting of glacier is more, flood will affect Kharif. If winter, glacier itself is what very less for the melting of the, say for example, glaciers, again, Rabi crops will also get affected. See, Rabi crops may not need much of the water, but Rabi crops need water. Correct? Right. So melting of glaciers are causing a loss of biodiversity and also, say for example, animals are losing homes. Right. Habitat destruction will also what take place. But whatever be the case, if I'm just revolving around the water alone, if I talk about water crisis, right, somewhere I can highlight, right, water for the agriculture, there will be a crisis. Right. More of a flood will be there. Right. Sometimes it can also result in what? Initially, glaciers melting. If it is melting, you'll be having flood. Correct? Then say, for example, if you do not sometimes monsoon, if at all, if it is slightly weakening, you may not have glacier to support the flow of the water in what? River. That time you may have what? Groundwater table will recede. Acute shortage of water will be experiencing. Am I right? Right? N number of other cases can take place. Okay. And my dear friends, this is completely an open-ended question. Completely an open-ended question. Rising water temperature and water levels affect fish and aquatic plants. Fish species that depends on coral reefs, that also you can leave it. Absence of glacier will lead to drought and desertification of land. Very important. Reducing glacier is also causing a scarcity of fresh water that is worsening with rising population. Right? Not only the availability of the water, availability of fresh water is also very much needed. Right? If glacier melts, fixed deposits of snow goes down, causing drying of the springs. Springs will also start getting dried up. Am I right? Right, my dear friend. So way forward also I have just given it because this is an open-ended question. What is way forward? If at all, if you want to stop it, mitigate it, what you can do it. Okay. Right. See, way forward, do not give it unless and until it is a detailed question. Okay. Right. Right, my dear friends. Some of the questions we have taken and we have discussed it. Okay, in way forward, some very important points I have just given it. In order to stop the temperature from rising, the only solution is to cool the planet, right? As advised by the scientists. For this, the world not only needs to slow the greenhouse gas emission, but we should also reverse them. We should also reduce the carbon dioxide content which is there in what atmosphere. The only mechanism what we can go is for what? Carbon sequestration. Okay. So try to capture the atmospheric carbon dioxide and store it in non-atmospheric form. Right. And fact says there are about 2 lakh glaciers in the world. And India alone accounts for somewhere around 9,000 glaciers of them. However, all of these glaciers are mostly unexplored. Right. So more detailed research is required to fully understand the state of glaciers and risk their loss process. Okay. Right. So my dear friends, somewhere I am just ending this class right now here. We'll be seeing, say, for example, totally we have somewhere around 6 sessions, somewhere I believe, right? More questions we'll take it, uh, more dimension we'll add it. Most of the time, I'm just trying to add some of the questions or that area which has more chance of being asked in the examination, because I strongly believe the cues of the questions are generally taken somewhere around 5 to 6 months before the mains examination. That's what I'm also concentrating, right? So, right, my dear friends, thank you and God bless. Keep studying, keep preparing, be always motivated. Try avoiding negativity. Even say, for example, right? Close your eyes when the negative comments or negativity comes in. Wishing you all the best and God bless. Thank you.